Let's take it out of the way just in case someone passes. Well, pretty much what I wanted to talk about today was treat yourself. I'm gonna use two analogies for this. The first one is something that someone told me a while ago, which I feel like has become pretty synonymous in the way I think, is look at your life and yourself and your effort as a stock, you know? So, I mean, I guess if you're watching this, anyone who's watching this knows how the graph for a stock goes, right? And, one day, weekly, monthly, yearly, it shows you the different stats. And just look at your life the same way, for example, daily. Every minute, every second, it could either go up, it could either go down, it could either go up. And if you just like hyper focus on that idea of in this very minute, I don't feel good, I feel like my life is not going well, I feel bad. And that's a very instantaneous way of looking at things instead of just like short term, which I would say was like weekly, monthly, and then long term is 1 year, 5 year. That's the breakdowns of how I see my stock, honestly. And I'll put myself as an example is of about 4 years ago, at this very same moment, July of 2022, I was working as a customer service representative. And, for all purposes, it was a pretty chill job. It was remote. It was at home, just taking calls all day and just having people be mad at you because their loans, didn't process or their payments got taken out early before they could put it elsewhere. I could agree to that because I've been in that situation. At that moment, I was very, very down because I wanted to be something else. I wanted to be more. I wanted my life to get more challenging in ways that I could learn more. And I feel like the moment between being a customer service representative and jumping to like a help desk technician, which was my quote unquote opening the doors to like the tech world, which is really not. It was just another way of saying customer service representative, just a little bit more troubleshooting. Honestly, that's what it was at the end of the day, but it was so tough to get into that job. I applied to countless help desk jobs at that moment, and I got a job. Actually, no, let me tell you this story, which was kind of crazy, which is one of those things daily that could get you to unravel or not feel like what's going on with my life, right? I applied to a job and I thought it was going great. I've always been very tech savvy, but in help desk, you gotta have these certifications in like CompTIA and stuff, like CompTIA Security, CompTIA A+. I didn't have none of that. The person that was interviewing me kind of looked at me kind of wrong for that, and he threw me the weirdest like question. He pretty much asked me, why are manholes round? And that threw me off. And it had nothing to do with the job description, because, what the hell? But unfortunately for him, I am very inquisitive, and I knew why they're round. So, I answered. So I pretty much answered, and he wasn't expecting that type of question, but, to that type of answer. But to make it short, I didn't get the job, and that day I felt very sad, obviously, which goes to that little diagram where it shows your progress. Obviously, mine dipped a little bit. A month later, I got a job at Chicago Public Schools doing like help desk. I was there for 5, 6 months. And of course, I wanted more. I wanted more. I always want more out of life. I got an internship doing computer engineering with the University of Illinois. I did that for a little bit. So my life had already gone a little bit up, a little bit upwards in the stock diagram, if that's the analogy that we're using right now. And I did that for about 6, 7 months. Life had started to pick up, obviously, in the field that I wanted. Again, every day is just, if you show up, you put effort, you put time, you put attention to all the things that you want, that little diagram is gonna keep going up. That stock is gonna keep going up. And I'm not gonna use yourself as your stock is gonna go up in price, but more like in personal value, inwards, because that's how I see things. I really don't care for money like that, even though that sounds strange to say sometimes. Now that I grew up rich, I grew up not that good also, but I had very loving parents that they loved me, and that's pretty much the values that I want to instill and carry on. But anyway, I did that for 6, 7 months, and then thankfully that place got me a position at John Deere. And at John Deere I had no idea how to do like any manufacturing or anything, and I was very sad because, I thought it was gonna be like a software engineering role, right? I mean, it was just like in the manufacturing business, which is a totally different thing, totally different acronyms, a bunch of other stuff that I had to relearn, the language that I had to use, the IDE that I had to use, which is like the dashboards that we use to make the apps and whatever. I had no idea how to do none of that. But again, I wanted more out of life, so I learned it. And I was there for about a year, a little bit more than a year and a half, and I would have been still there if I hadn't gotten laid off, I feel like that was one of the companies that I always wanted to work at. Then I got laid off. A bunch of stuff happened that, with John Deere, that they had to let go of a bunch of people. And unfortunately, I was part of that. But anyway, so after that, I felt like I didn't find my footing in Chicago. I had been in Chicago for 16, 17 years at this point. And I've always wanted to go elsewhere in the country. I mean, the United States is gigantic and many cultures within the same country. I had visited Houston the year before, so that was like 2023. Like, I came for a weekend and I kind of liked it. I was very surprised that I liked it. I came here knowing that I was getting laid off, and thankfully when I came, I found another job in AI and the oil and gas industry, which was kind of weird too, because again, things always seem to work out for me. Again, another time, my stock keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up. And that's because putting effort, not staying complacent in where you are. Obviously, it came with the incentives of a little bit more money, but my thing is like, I want to know more, because obviously I could get way better jobs down the line if I find, if I get more skills to add to my infinity gauntlet. Right now, I'm definitely in a downwards dip to my stock. But the main analogy is your day could be going like this. And if I have time, I'll draw it out and put it in. I'll layer it into the video. But what someone told me was, whenever you're feeling like this, zoom out to see your progress and, you know, what has been your progress in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And mine is definitely in a hike, I would say. But also the second analogy is to like use the same type of logic, but instead of that diagram, use it as water droplets. Every day, it's how many water droplets do you add to the cup until it fills up. You know, take out whenever you're having bad days, put in when you're having good things, put a lot of droplets when you have an extremely good day or a very good accomplishment. I feel like that's something with me that sometimes kind of sucks, because sometimes I wish like, man, I wish I could just find loyalty in a place where I could just stay for 5, 10 years. But I don't know, man, I feel like tech right now, it's at a really weird crossroads where there's not really loyalty if there's no, what's that saying? If there's no shareholder value going up. So that means, you know, laying off 10,000 people and then just offshoring all this work. So my dip right now in my stock diagram is kind of falling out of love with like development, trying to see what else I could do that could bring me joy, or if I could change people's lives, or if I could, you know, do something positive. That's something I would like to do. And it's just bizarre because on LinkedIn alone, bro, I swear, I looked up at my LinkedIn jobs dashboard. I've applied to 600 jobs since January, and not one has called me from LinkedIn. It has legit been like outside folks reaching out. So I guess LinkedIn is kind of trash, which was my last video that I said, like, I cannot wait to find a place that leads me to just stop caring about LinkedIn or just applying there. But again, you know, now I'm looking for a different type of job that kind of like is adjacent to development. I do want to stay like in the data area. I don't know, I just like working with like SQL and stuff. It's pretty fun. But also like product management, project management. I do have like certifications in that. And I don't know, man, sometimes I feel like AI is a scam. I hope not, because the obscene amounts of money that these companies are putting towards these projects is kind of messed up, that there's no money for helping poor folks. But to create data centers, there's all the money in the world. You know, people are raising eyebrows when politicians say that they want to feed children in like public city schools, and saying, why don't their parents help out with that? When it's kind of messed up, man. Like, I mean, I guess that's how the rich stay richer. Maybe it's why I'm not rich. But I'd rather have integrity than be a soulless ghoul. But I don't know if my video made sense. If you relate to it, I hope you do. It's something that I always keep in mind. It's just, how could I get better? How could I keep putting effort? And ultimately, it's just, what else can I learn? How much can I learn? Can this job give me what I'm trying to learn, the skills and all this stuff, which is something that's kind of making me go crazy, that I'm looking for another job that fulfills that. So my stock could keep going up, and I could hopefully end up in one of those. Wishful thinking, huh? But I guess I'll leave you here, folks. Have a great day.